They've made arrangements with the crown, a marriage to the royal son. I've never seen his face at all, and now my waiting has begun.
The arrival of the Leviathan, a notorious pirate ship, safely within Estolian waters marked a pivotal moment in my life. That morning, I was unaware of the profound guidance I would receive, nor did I foresee discovering my Cailey. Unpredictably, Ephraim, a crew member of this feared vessel, stepped ashore, destined to become one of the most extraordinary figures to grace Estolia. In my life, there are scarce few days of true significance, yet this day stood above the rest, not only for my personal joy, but for the profound impact on our nation. The news of the Leviathan threading the Needle, a treacherous path believed impenetrable to outsiders, seemed a dire omen at first. Yet, as events unfolded, it was clear that deity's watchful presence guided us, helping us see beyond the peril to the moments that would define our future. Kytheros, Capitulo 42.
The sound of Ulysses' crutches caught her attention, and she turned to look at him. He smiled at her. His smile transformed his expression.
Our seclusion chamber is one of our better achievements as a people. You must choose to accept the prince as your spouse. If you choose him, and he chooses you, then you will become a princess. The two of you will remain in seclusion for a full 7 days.
He limped closer to her, his eyes seriously studying hers.
Do you plan to take this challenge, Annabelle?
The scent of the blossoms reminded her of the mother she remembered before the accident with the horse. It felt as if her mother was present, offering reassurance that she was in a welcoming place, and, as Cailey had said, her future was here. She mirrored that assurance.
If the prince will accept me, then I will accept him.
She lifted her chin defiantly against those forces that sought to deny her a future due to her mother's injury. He limped closer and took her hands in his, looking at her, as if he was searching for something he had lost in the depths of her eyes. Whatever he saw must have reassured him. He smiled slightly and then stepped backwards.
I believe, Annabelle, daughter of Raoul, chief artisan of Palmyra, that you were brought here by deity and that you will find great happiness here.
He turned to limp to the right where a table had a bowl of fruit, along with a couple of goblets and a container of wine.
Everything you need is here in this chamber. The prince will arrive in a few minutes.
After a slight bow, he limped to the door and exited swiftly. Annabelle decided to explore the chamber while she was alone. Against one wall stood a wooden table, adorned with a loaf of bread and a wheel of cheese. Turning her attention elsewhere, she noticed a cozy sitting area where large pillows were arranged on fine sheepskins. She imagined sitting there with the prince, engaging in conversation, discovering the nuances of her new homeland, provided he enjoyed such exchanges. Some men, she mused, preferred minimal interaction, their focus limited to bearing heirs. Yet with a full 7 days of seclusion ahead, surely they would need to converse about more than just progeny. A heavy tapestry concealed the rest of the chamber. Approaching it, near the open shutters overlooking the central garden, she slipped into the bedchamber. There, she paused, mesmerized by the sight of the bed. Though her father was wealthy, he owned nothing of this splendor. She stepped closer to examine it. The bed was expansive, easily fitting too. It rested on a metal platform layered with wood, topped by a plush mattress, dressed in exquisite linens. She reached out, feeling the smooth fabric and the comforting embrace of the mattress. Surely even Duke Ortega himself lacked such luxury. Having finished her scrutiny of the bed, she turned to take in the rest of the chamber. At the foot of the bed stood a wooden chest, solid and unadorned. 2 doors branched off from the bedchamber, their mysteries reserved for another time. She returned to the outer room, her mind restless with thoughts of how soon she might meet the man destined to be her husband, if she managed to please him. She wandered into the garden and found solace under the blossoming tree. As she closed her eyes, she inhaled the fragrant air, memories of her mother flooding back, her deep chestnut brown hair, light brown eyes that sparkled with warmth. High cheekbones framed her face, along with generous curves. Taller than most women, she stood just a few inches shorter than Annabel's father. Her ever-present smile seemed to carry happiness wherever she went, lighting up every room she entered. Annabel often pondered how anyone could consider her more beautiful than her mother. She was shorter than average, with less generous curves, and her hair was black and curly, resembling her father's. Her eyes were a pale blue, a marked contrast to her mother's warm, light brown gaze. A faint rustle jolted her eyes open. She turned toward the shutters, her heart leaping at the sight of Alexandros standing in the doorway, gazing at her.
Has the king changed his mind?
She asked, a flicker of hope dancing in her chest. In that fleeting second, she wished fervently that the decision had shifted, longing for Alexandros over anyone else.
No, he has not.
Alexandros gestured for her to return to the seclusion chamber. As she entered, the soft glow of candles revealed the space, casting a warm light across the room. She noticed his freshly bathed and shaved appearance, and realization dawned on her.
You are the king's son?
She asked, astonishment ringing in her voice. He moved gracefully to the wine, pouring 2 glasses with practiced ease.
Have a seat, Annabel,
he invited, gesturing toward a nearby chair. His fluency in the language of Palmyra was remarkably impressive, each word spoken with a natural cadence. Settling into the chair, she accepted the glass of wine he offered. As the rich taste enveloped her senses, she was caught off guard by its complexity. She gazed at the glass, marveling at how such depth of flavor came from the mellow golden liquid.
You did not wish to marry me?
She asked. Her curiosity mingled with a hint of vulnerability. He glanced at her swiftly, his gaze sharpening with alertness.
On the contrary,
he replied, a slow smile spreading across his face, a spark igniting in his eyes.
I had hoped to approach this differently, but my intentions were always to end up here, with you.
Annabel's gaze shifted from him to take in the room.
Here? Exactly?
Yes, here, in this very room,
he affirmed, his eyes following hers. With a casual nod toward the table, he added,
Would you like some bread, cheese, some fruit?
She nodded, observing as he broke off some bread and offered it to her. They ate in tranquil silence, a shared camaraderie settling between them. Annabel studied his features, her curiosity deepening. One question lingered in her mind.
Ulysses only ever called you the prince. Will you become king someday?
He nodded, a hint of gravity in his expression.
Yes, if you accept me, you'll stand by my side as my queen.
He took a thoughtful sip of his wine, letting the words settle. Annabel found herself momentarily at a loss for words.
Your father is quite vigorous. You likely will not be king for some time.
The crown prince of Anoxes was almost as old as this man's father. Her father often said the likelihood was that he would never take the crown. His father did not intend to die while his son was young enough to take it. Alexandros smiled warmly.
In Estolia, tradition dictates that the king abdicates his throne exactly 7 days after his heir's first son enters the world. Imagine this time next year. Should you choose me, I will be king.
His words left her speechless, so she concentrated on the food and wine. They shared the meal in a quiet companionship. Once finished, her mind drifted back to her earliest vivid memory of this land, the echoes of Estrella's squeals and his powerful stallion entwined. A warm blush crept across her cheeks at the thought. His expression shifted, and after a brief pause he rose to his feet, offering her his hand. She accepted, rising with his help. He stood tall and solid, a striking contrast to Duke Ortega's bulk. The Duke carried his extra weight with pride, but she found no admiration in such indulgence.
Has Ulysses said anything to you?
He inquired, gently guiding her towards the bedchamber. Reflecting on his words, she replied,
Ulysses said, I must choose you, and, likewise, you must choose me. That's the only way forward. I told him I would accept the prince.
A wistful expression crossed her face, recalling the hesitant doubts she harbored. She yearned for the man before her, even as she committed to another. He lifted the tapestry for her to pass beneath, letting it fall softly behind them like a veil. He approached the garden shutters, methodically pulling them closed, the quiet creak of the hinges breaking the stillness. Once the shutters were secured, he released another tapestry which dropped into place, sealing off the outside world.
It seemed to me as if you were hesitant to pledge yourself to me.
He probed. She shook her head in denial.
It is not that.
Her cheeks flushed as the unspoken words lingered on her lips.
What is it then, Annabelle?
He pressed gently. Lowering her eyes, she bowed her head, wrestling with her emotions. He moved across the room, positioning himself in front of her. With a soft touch, he lifted her chin, his gaze searching hers.
What brings that blush to your cheeks?
Ulysses made me promise to do what was necessary, but in that moment, I secretly wished you were the prince.
And now that you know who I truly am?
He asked softly, his eyes locked onto hers.
Ulysses said I had to choose the prince before anything could move forward. Now, I understand the true meaning of his words. Choosing you, Alexandros, is my choice.
As she stepped closer, her body brushed softly against his.
I want you to choose me in return. Cathaya told me that happiness would elude me if I did not choose to live my life on Pequeño. I felt forced to accept and choose the prince, when all I could think about was how much I wanted you.
Oh, beautiful, wonderful Annabelle. From the moment I first laid eyes on you, I knew my heart was yours. I've envisioned you as my future wife, the mother of our children, and my cherished Cailey. The sole barrier that remained was in getting you to accept me in return.
But something in me starts to rise, a strength I didn't understand. I am more than they believe, more than just